This is like in The Incredibles when Mr. Incredible comes in and sits down, you know.
This is something.
That's fine.
I can break through walls. I just can't.
That's fine.
Get this.
Was there ever a moment in your early life or early career where this moment sticks out in your memory as the pivotal moment that you decided to become a filmmaker?
Absolutely. When I was 9.5 years old, my father, who was an airline pilot, came home from a trip on a Friday night. And this was May 25th of 1977. And he said, hey, tomorrow we're going to the movies. I walked in wanting to be like my dad and be a pilot. I walked out wanting to make movies, wanting to know how they did that. And that literally grew into that. I can pinpoint the moment in time, which is kind of interesting of what changed my life. But that's what, and a lot of people have that same story. A lot of people in this business carry that story with them. I know Peter Jackson has the same story. There's a lot of big directors have the same story. It's just, that's how seminal a movie that was. People that weren't there to see it in the theater at a young age, I don't think can appreciate really how groundbreaking it was, because things now are so visual and everything pops out and there's so much going on with movies, but it's a very simple story and it works great. Yeah, sorry. It's just so between takes if I need to.
It's not in the frame.
I was making a noise with it.
With the noise, yeah.
I was popping.
We can keep the noise.
You know, sometimes
clean
I was
it.
doing this.
I can clean
Do
it.
you shampoo and condition?
Yes. Okay, yes, I do shampoo and condition and probably more hair products than you will ever use.
Was there a moment in your sort of early life or career where this moment is something that you remember as the definitive moment where you decided you got to be a filmmaker?
It was a combination of moments, truly. My father was a photographer, and he started introducing video for weddings. And I was 12, and I told him, "Hey, can I, play with that?" The biggest incentive to move forward was that when I did that edit after he was done with his, my father decided to show that my tape to the client too, and the client decided to take mine instead of his edit. That incentivized that I was onto something, right?
Right.
The clients liked my edit, and from there I started working with my father on that business, and then I started asking, can we have these shots, because I wanted them for editing. So then I started to grab the camera, so I've been doing this for a while, even though it sounds like I'm really dating myself. I'm working on that, but I was 12 years old when I started, so it's an odd thing.
You've heard the term hurry up and wait. That's such a filmmaking term, because the way your day on a film set works is each department is there to do their job, but your job may not be needed right then. So you're being paid essentially really good money to hurry up and wait. As a special effects person, you'll sit there all day and do nothing for 9 hours, then suddenly they go, okay, we're ready to blow up the whatever.
Hello. Okay. Oh. Heard. Copy that. All right, back. Hurry up and wait.
Every day. So it can be, hurry up and wait is what this business is kind of based on. That in turn means you have to have a lot of patience and also resilience. Resilience is a big thing in this business. I tell filmmakers all the time, especially, that the best analogy for this business is you're fighting a dragon. Are you going to run away, or are you going to pick up your sword and run right back at the dragon? Because that's what this business is. It really is.
Talk about the lingo. of filmmaking, you will hear that it's a lot of military stuff, like even this word shooting,
Right.
you know, because it is a military operation. It is putting a bunch of
Don't
people
move, don't move, don't move,
together.
don't move.
Like I did my first 48-hour challenge. We had 60 people in between cast and crew for a 48-hour short film, and you need that amount of people sometimes to get things done.
Wow. So the filmmaking process, I will start from my acting side. I lived in Hollywood, like I said, well, about 18, 19 years. Lived in East Hollywood, mid-city, if you know the city like I do, from top to bottom. I know it very well. From all the way up in Sylmar, all the way down to Long Beach and beyond. But I went to school, Cal State LA, for business management and marketing. That was my thing. Started working at a newspaper, copy editing, learning about Adobe in its initial stage, and working for some big name magazines that were on the action sports side. Did music reviews for the record labels. But I wanted to transition because I saw the film thing on a daily basis in Hollywood, but I just didn't know how to reach it, what my role could be, etc. So, friend of mine, he was a good-looking gentleman, and he was always getting requested to be on set. So we decided to go to Central Casting, like a lot of people do. Went to Burbank, signed up, and for whatever reason, I always got casted for either a villain or a cop. So I was either evading the law or arresting people. So eventually, it just kind of became my thing, and I started doing a lot of extra work. Just to pass the time while I was still going to school. So it was paying a decent amount for me to still have my apartment, go to college, and make a somewhat of a decent living. And one day I just went to the back lot over at Paramount. A friend of mine had a catering company, and he called me up when I was doing it. He said, "Hey, you want to just serve coffee and do some crafty for me? I got a gig over at Paramount." I said, "Let's do it." So I went up there and helped him, and then 2 stages over, there was an AD that came over to talk to one of her girlfriends, and she looked at me and said, "What are you doing over here on serving coffee? You're supposed to be on our set." I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "You're not our cop on Primal Fear." And I said, "What?" And then so my buddy Breck, he was like, "Forget what they're saying. Just go, just cheat it." So went over to their set, and the AD looked at me when the PA brought me, and she said, "I don't know where our guy is. He looks perfect. Just get him suited up, send him over to the trailer, run a contract for him." So next thing you know, they walked me over to the trailer, moved some name over, put Dwight Dyer, my name, and yeah, it was just a fantastic time to be in Hollywood. There was so much work. And that's pretty much how I got my start. But just like anything else, nothing lasts forever. Economy took a turn. The earthquake came. The riots came. And I said, I want to grow up. So I moved to Las Vegas and bought a house and started a family. Yeah.
You moved to Las Vegas.
I moved to Las Vegas. So that's kind of the trajectory. If you can't make it in LA, there's 3 cities that Angelinos will generally move to. They'll move to Phoenix, they'll move to Denver, and they'll move to Vegas. So around that time, a lot of people started making the transition, and I found myself in Viva Las Vegas, not doing any film work, but doing some of the work that I originally wanted to do. Was I wanted to get into the medical field because that's what my mother did. So I just transitioned altogether. Was in the medical field.
I grew up in Arizona, and in the summer it's 120 degrees, and so I'd spend the morning playing basketball, but the rest of the day in the house watching movies. And my family liked watching movies, and we had a pretty good collection, and then we would go to the movie theater all the time. So I think it was just the Arizona heat in general that kind of like forced me indoors. Mm-hmm. And my family were classic film lovers, right? So they would show you, I mean, I got a pretty decent education from an early age of like, here's stuff from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and on up. And then obviously we were watching things that were coming out then. So I think if there was a moment, it's the first sweltering Arizona summer where I went inside and was like, what are we going to do? And, it raided the video cassette case. Yeah, some people, when, they turn 16, they get like a car. I got a VHS player for my room. So that tells you where my priorities were.
Well, it started when I was probably in high school. I saw a few films. It was really Stanley Kubrick, like his filmography. that like made me want to explore this.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought his storytelling was just so fantastic, and it was like, I don't know, it was very engaging, right? And it seemed simple, but I knew that there's a lot of like thought behind that.
Yeah.
So after just watching those films, I just picked up a camera, and I would just take photos and do little videos of myself and my family. So I just turned into my family's photographer. And so yeah, I took some photography classes, I applied for a news station, and I kind of like got into journalism through like, you know, a love for the camera. Yeah, and so now, after like, I guess my 20s, and moving here to Atlanta, I kind of want to push that a little bit more. I kind of want to be more of a crafter instead of a documentarian, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
A journalist. Yeah.
Yeah. My ninth grade English teacher. I remember this moment. I remember it. There was a writing assignment that we did, a creative writing assignment. And she was passing everybody's graded papers back. And she was passing them out. She comes to me, and she says, "Brandon, this is really good. You should be a writer." And then she just continues and passes it out the next one to the next kid. And I was like, was there a moment for you that was similar to that, where it was this initiating moment in your memory that stands out as like, oh, this is the deciding factor?
Right. Absolutely. I had originally studied to be an architect, and then I switched to photography, even though in my head I kind of wanted to be a filmmaker. But at that time in my life, I didn't feel like that was a reality that was even attainable at all. So I finally took the leap my senior year of college, and our first film assignment was to take one reel of 16 millimeter black and white film and shoot it and edit it, and create a short film. And I wrote and storyboarded to a T what I wanted, because that's not a lot to play with. So you need to be pretty tight with your shots.
Yeah.
Know what you want, get it, get out.
Right.
And did it. And my instructor said it was the best first project he'd ever seen. And I think it was at the end of the class, though, that he said, you know, you're more talented than you know, and you really need to keep going. And that's the moment.
I like that it's conversational. Do you guys know what Meisner is? The Meisner technique of in any conversation. You know how sometimes there's a repetition of something. Meisner is repeating just the same thing.
Excellent.
I always when I think of sound, the first thing for some reason I get a visual of a clapboard.
I have
Where it begins, right?
Yeah, where it all begins. I have a slate. I have a Betzo slate, which is a time code slate with the big numbers on it and everything. And it's one of my favorite devices. That one slate has gotten me more jobs than all my gear put together.
Has the digital on it?
Mm-hmm. It has the time. What's fancy about it is that it has the numbers being displayed, and then when you click it, it shows you the date and it shows you.
Is it all digital? Does it have?
No, you write on it.
Oh.
And then just that part is digital.
Right. Huh.
I don't like the full. There's one digital slate that came out recently where it's all digital. It's kind of the same. It's the same company that makes the what's that? You know what's that reading one?
Take a look. It's in a book. A reading rainbow.
So I have a master's degree in music composition, and composition and technology, and a minor in physics. So like.
Fascinating. Let's go back to Dr. Wei-Ping Yu. Dr. Wei-Ping Yu responded to Terrence Howard in a podcast. Take a look at this. It's fascinating.
Made the electron model wrong. Electron is elementary particles. in physics is found that elementary particle cannot be subdivided, do not have another detailed structure or something. And we get even.
He's describing that. So with quantum mechanics, applying to film, look, quantum mechanics is the mathematical and scientific description of the entire universe, from the microscopic to the macroscopic. Let's say everything inside this circle is the universe.
I had to refill the memory card.
Filmmaking is everything inside this circle. Filmmaking is inside the universe. So, according to quantum mechanics, just following the logic here, quantum mechanics is describing all of this, and it's also describing filmmaking. So you really do have to understand the entire universe if you're going to be creating a universe.
Composition and technology, and a minor in physics. So like I wanted to do something different with music. I wanted to be avant-garde. I want to go down to like the art side of music. But that doesn't pay. So what I did was I joined, I got a job at ESPN Plus as a sound mixer for, I did like a 2,000 to 1,000 like sports events.
This is the smoothest cameraman to ever exist, as he uses rollerblades to minimize shaking. But the final outcome of the shot is even more impressive. Watch how he just effortlessly glides around the basketball court without any mistakes. And just look how smooth the shot came out.
To answer your question, the moment that really sold it for me, that I liked this job, was when we did a one shot on this short film. Because I was like, I don't know, this guy holding a stick seems kind of cool. I shot a oneer, which involved going through, it was like I had to boom through a window, then climb down a ladder, and then my second boom op got them walking out of the house, and then I picked them walking back out of the house, and we landed right there. And then I coordinated that whole thing, and we had less than 5 minutes to coordinate, because it was just like, he wants to do it. We have two, we only have 2 takes,
So
and we got it.
It was like chaos trying to figure it out.
But it was such a, if you ever play sports,
yeah,
it's that moment where you're not, your hands, your body, and your brain are in sync doing something. It's
Right.
that like I feel the most comfortable and calm I've ever been, and I have ADHD, so to have a moment where I have a clarity in my head,
right,
was the moment. I literally, and then I saw it in theaters, and I sat there. I'm like, I did that.
right.
And when that was my revelation that I want to be the best at this. I want to do this.
Interesting.
From then on in, I was taking film classes through undergrad, and I did my master's at UCLA and my PhD at UC Santa Barbara. And then out of PhD, I got a job here at GSU. I've been here for 13 years since. So pretty much either studying film or working sports video to pay for studying film, and working at a media industries research center while in my PhD, and now here. So in academia for quite a while.
Yeah. What'd you do in sports video?
So we would get things on the listserv all the time when I was an undergrad from like ESPN, and they'd say, hey, we're coming into film softball, and we need somebody to like hold a camera and not fall down. Yeah. And I was pretty good at not falling down, and I learned how to hold the camera. And every time they would come back, I would try and do it again, and I got to do more and more, for a very small amount of pay, but also a lot of good experience. And, it was cool that I got to do some of the coming out of a commercial, panning the camera for the score, and like, that's my camera that's panning. So that kind of stuff, yeah. And then when I was at UCLA, I worked for their sports video department for doing like strategy video and for highlight videos. So I was up on like a giant scissor lift recording football practice to see like the strategy and stuff so that coaches could review it. So I did that all through my master's.
You're not afraid of heights?
No, but I, you think California, oh, nice weather and everything. But when you get like 50, 60 feet up in the air, that breeze from the ocean starts hitting you. And so I was like scarf, beanie, gloves and everything, which you wouldn't think in like a, California spring you would need.
What do you think about prank videos?
I wrote a book about the way we use our mobile device in our in between moments.
What is that book?
It's the procrastination economy, the big business of downtime, and it's essentially about like the way the entertainment industry creates content for our in between moments, like watching things at your desk. And as the mobile devices grew, it became about all these in between moments in which we watch that snackable content.
Are pranksters growing? I feel like there's a market growing of pranksters that are kind of like messing with people's businesses and doing things, disrupting the store. Is that problematic potentially? Is there a way to do that respectfully? I mean, almost no.
I would love to see the respectful way to knock down things in a store. That would be interesting to see. I would say it's another cyclical, right? So if we look at like the history of adolescence, Halloween starts out as in America as like a prank war, right? Of just like basically ruining the town until we switch it to trick-or-treating, right? And so there's a lot of this stuff that's been around for a long time. I do think the internet's ability to amplify things makes us more aware of it and encourages more, copycat of it. So certainly I would say that there's more opportunity to find kindred spirits who would be interested in the same thing than there may have been in the past. But those kinds of pranks have been around for a long time.
I sat over the thing, and that was my and I remember sitting there remembering that moment in it wasn't that one shot hadn't happened yet, so I just remember making the switch, regretting my entire life, like what am I doing?
Wow.
But then the next short film after that was that one shot.
Yeah.
So I was in that moment when I was doing that one shot, I was like, all right, I'll give it my all. If I don't like this, I'll never go back to this. And that one shot saved everything. Now it's been 5 years, and now I'm running entire feature films by myself.
Nice.
So it's been a journey.
Wow.
By the way, that's how I met him.
That's a very unique story.
Do you guys know what Meisner is? Meisner is repeating just the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see if we can go back into
this thing that I've been thinking about with Meisner and editing, coming up with a new Meisner technique that has to do with directing and editing.
Where you can go to school, get a master's degree, but never have done anything. See, the problem is you want your plumber to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You want your electrician to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You want your doctor to know what he's doing.
Right.
But in filmmaking, the people teaching it, they ain't never, some of them ain't done nothing. They just got the piece of paper.
Right.
But that's the problem is that, and I'm not saying that you can't get away with the paper because maybe you're teaching core courses.
Right.
But the problem that I've had and I've seen, and I got years of experience, a lot of people, if you only knew that they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
And I mean specifically film and TV.
And do you know why?
Why teachers should have some, how a business works from the education. So that's a problem. And I've seen it happen too many times. So when I went to film school,
they teach the art and not the business.
Well, when I went to school, well, they just don't have no experience. In other words, let me give you my example, personally. Some friends and I realized when we went to film school that the teachers had never done anything. And so that's why nobody left the program and went further. Most people left the program and went to news, they went to radio,
right?
They went to the music business.
Right.
Because the teachers did not know how to teach with like, hey,
based on a
here's
real
the
world
next level. Because they didn't have no real world.
Right.
They never worked they may have worked in a news station, may have worked in a radio station, but it wasn't like they were top shelf. And really, to be honest with you, none of them had ever worked with anybody who was top shelf.
I don't buy into the you've got to know this person or that person.
One thing I've always heard about this industry and really about any work environment, it's all who you know. And I really didn't comprehend at all what that even means. Before I thought it meant, oh, I've got to somehow meet this person or this big name or that person who's got a lot of money. And maybe it doesn't mean that. Maybe it means I haven't developed the relationships with the people that I know well enough. And I started doing that instead of like focusing on all these other people. And then all of a sudden things started falling into place.
And I don't know if that's maybe the answer to anyone who's got a frustration about the phrase, it's all who you know.